morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, The Power of the Pause, the Power of Silence. I want to talk to you about a simple tool we all have available that's often underutilized and neglected, and that is the power of the pause. The pause is really quite magnificent in its ability to influence, to help you when you're struggling, to eliminate some of those unwanted filler words. I'm going to cover all of that in today's webinar. How to master the pause, the power of silence. This webinar is being recorded. For your information, let me share my screen and we'll be underway. Mastering the power of the pause. So thanks for participating. I know many of you have registered and will probably review this on recording. I did mention it is recorded, so please ask questions as we go. Put in your own comments should you wish, and of course, take notes. And any comments that you can add, that would be really appreciated. So, introduction. So, a little bit of understanding what the pause is. Simply put, it is the act of remaining silent. There's strategic pauses, there's unintentional pauses. There's pauses to create suspense. There's pauses to recover. Some people think the pause is awkward. If I stop talking, if I remain silent for too long, I'm going to look awkward. I'm going to look like an idiot. I'm going to look like maybe I don't know what I want to say. Let me share with you a really good tip with reducing the awkwardness of the pause. When you pause and you feel uncomfortable, 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, so really awkward for you, please understand the audience only sees 50%, 40% of what you're feeling. So an awkward pause, awkward silence to you can appear as a normal pause to the audience. Which brings me to the question, how long can we pause for? I generally think a pause should be around 4 to 10 seconds, depending on what you're using that pause for. So if you want people to think, if you want people to process what you've just said, then a pause for 10 seconds is fine. For example, so just imagine you're approaching retirement. I want you to think of two questions. Number one, do you have enough money set aside for your retirement? And can you live the lifestyle that you desire in retirement? That would be a question, a scenario where I'd leave people with a good 10 seconds. The mistake is people say, so imagine you're close to retirement. Do you have enough money? Can you live the lifestyle that you deserve? All right, I'm going to share with you 4 strategies, but hang on a moment, Peter. I was trying to imagine my retirement. So the length of the pause varies. Sometimes they're short, where they're acting like punctuation, which brings me to the pause, is the punctuation in the spoken word. The pause is the full stop and the comma that we use in our written word. And you know how we say things and then the full stop at the end of a sentence. We say things and then we add something else on after a comma. The pause is your punctuation in your spoken word. All right, let's move on with the benefits of using pause. As I mentioned out as I mentioned earlier on, it is a greatly underutilized tool, and it's one of those, the 1%ers that can really catapult your public speaking skills. There's some advanced platform mechanics, structure of presentations, storytelling. That's hard work to get a great improvement in your public speaking, whereas using pause is a simple tool that gives you a great improvement in your public speaking. So for me, it's what I call low-hanging fruit. Everyone should understand the benefits and become comfortable and adept at using the pause. I mean, for me, pause is one of those things I use all the time. It helps me with my vocal variety. It helps me with my pace. It helps me to slow down. The first benefit of the pause, it helps you create suspense, create intrigue. Listen very carefully. I'm only going to say this once. Did you notice the power of the pause? Listen very carefully. I'm only going to say this once. By pausing before saying that important point, I've just elevated and created suspense in that particular topic. So when you are coming up to a key takeaway, so this is my key takeaway for today. See how the pause really piques your interest and creates that suspense, and people listen. That is one of the powers, one of the benefits of using the pause. So my key takeaway today, become comfortable, become proficient at using the pause. The second benefit is it allows the audience time to process. Remember, I said when talking about the length of pause, just imagine you're about to retire. 2 questions I want you to think about. Number 1, do you have enough money put aside? And number 2, can you live the lifestyle that you want? Just think about that for a moment. People need time to process those questions. What happens is people pose those rhetorical questions and then they speak into the void straight away, not leaving the audience, you, time to cognitively process what you've just said. For example, today I'm here to talk to you about conflict management. I just want you to imagine a time in your career where you've had 2 people and they were fighting with each other. It was becoming a dysfunctional workplace. What did you do to resolve that conflict? I need to leave you time to process that question. The reverse, so what did you do to resolve that conflict? All right, I'm going to share with you 4 strategies for conflict resolution between 2 people that are butting head. Did you notice how I didn't give you time to cognitively process what I asked you to think about, what I asked you to imagine? The question, what would you do? Please allow people time to process. A classic that I'm sure you've all seen at some stage is the stand-up comedian, the funny people, some on TV, some live. Some of us go to live comedy, some of us watch it on TV. When they get the audience laughing, when they tell a joke and the audience laughs, do they start speaking into their next joke? The answer is no. they allow the audience, they allow the laughter to fully run its course. And when the laughter's stopped, they then move on to their next conversation, to their next joke. Same with speaking. When you say something profound, when you say something important, allow people time to cognitively process what you've just said. Filler words. One of the destructive things I see in speeches is the and ahs, the you knows, the yeah nahs, the likes, those filler words that don't mean anything. Now, please understand that less than 2% ums and ahs is normal. I am not talking about being totally void of ums and ahs. It's very hard, especially if you're doing Q&A and you see many of our politicians starting sentences with and that is one of the things they do to buy a little bit of time. But if that and ah becomes too frequent, then it is destructive to the listener, to the audience. And in my workshops, I show a video of Caroline Kennedy being interviewed for a possible putting herself forward for a Senate seat in New York. And in that interview, there is 52 you knows in 5 minutes. I have a video of Scott Morrison, previous Prime Minister of Australia, saying the same word 11 times in 1 minute. These filler words can be replaced by pause. And that's all we're doing. We're just buying a little bit of time. And listen to the difference. I'm going to answer a simple question. How did you get to work today? And I'm going to answer that question twice. The first one, so how did I get to work today? I first of all caught the bus, the number 82, and at the train station, I changed to the Midland line, and that's how I got to work. Let me repeat that answer again. So how did I get to work today? I caught the bus. That's the number 82. At the train station, I changed to the train, to the Midland line. That's how I got to work. Very similar words. I won't pretend that they were exactly the same. My effort was the second one to replace the ums, ahs with pause. And 90% of the time, people say the second response sounds more credible, more confident than the first one with the ums and ahs. So the removal of pause helps you have greater presence, helps you appear more confident, helps you appear more credible. Replace filler words. The next important thing, the benefit of using pause and silence, is when your mind goes blank. And as I'm getting older, and I'm still doing lots of workshops, speaking for 7 hours, running training workshops, speaking at a conference, doing Q&A, I am often there and my mind's just gone blank. And I start by saying a quote and then I forget who the quote was. Here's the thing. People don't know what I was going to say next. You don't know what I'm going to say next. You have no idea. And the fact that I don't have any idea either doesn't matter, because 99% of the time, if I pause, if I take my time, I will recover. And 90% of the time, I will remember what I was going to say, roughly, and move on to that. And you won't know that I just lost it for a moment. And on those times I cannot recall what I was going to say, it's gone, I will move back to my key point, because my key point is my safety net. My key point is my underpinning message for the day. Remember, embrace the power of the pause. The pause is a wonderful skill. That's right. I was talking about recovering from mind blanks. What do you do when you have, in my case, a senior's moment, a brain freeze, a brain drain? The pause is wonderful. And what I see in my workshops, what I see in my coaching is people say, now, where was I? Look, sorry, I've just gone blank. I've just lost my track. And then within 3-5 seconds, they've moved on beautifully. And had they not announced that pause, had they not announced that mind blank, no one would have known. People do not know what you're going to say next. And the beauty of this is you can move on. You can forget and then move on to your next point. And then that'll pop back in your mind, and later on you'll weave it in, and nobody knows you've just changed the order. The power of the pause. Absolutely one of the best things you can use in public speaking. One of the best things that actors use in drama, that screenwriters use to create the suspense. For me, brilliant for recovering from those mind blanks. Really good for emphasizing key points. This is really important. I want you to take notice. And the pause helps you emphasize those key points. And the final benefit for today's webinar of the pause is it helps you to project confidence. The speaker that walks on stage, makes eye contact and pauses, smiles, starts strong, as opposed to walking on stage and talking at the same time. Good morning, everyone. My name's Peter Dew, and I'm really pleased to be here today. Rather, walk on stage, settle, smile, make eye contact, and then start strong. It enables you to project that presence. Amy Cuddy, in her TED Talk, talks about your body language determines who you are. And one of the things that you can do is you can fake your confidence. And by smiling and pausing, you issue that sense of being confident. That is presence. And we need presence when public speaking. So one of the things that helps build our presence, that calmness, is not just our relaxed, non-verbal communication, our smile, our eye contact, but our being comfortable with silence helps us elevate our presence. And it also indicates I'm happy to be here. I don't feel I need to talk really quickly and then I'm gone. Let's get over done with as quick as we can, because this is scary stuff and I want to get off here. The power of the pause helps demonstrate calmness, helps elevate your presence, and show your audience that you're happy to be there serving them today. Quick summary as we wrap up. Helps you create suspense, allows time to process what you've said. Don't say something profound and the space where people want to process, think about it, you speak into that space. If you are a filler word person, like, then use the pause to reduce that. Probably never to zero, but less than 2% filler words is really good. My own self recover from mind blanks, emphasize key points, and helps you project confidence. So there's 6 valuable benefits, 6 tools just by remaining silent and using the pause that you can use. Low-hanging fruit, not complex, not sophisticated platform mechanics, not sophisticated story structure, just by using silence. So what have I got coming up for you? Workshops, Perth, thinking and speaking off the cuff in May, Port Hedland in June, presentation skills and thinking and speaking off the cuff. Next webinars, for those of you who are webinar junkies, impromptu speaking mastery, thinking on your feet, just a short snapshot of what in 30 minutes of some skills to help you think on your feet. And then in June, how to craft stories. I mentioned about stories and more complex, but how do you craft your stories? A step-by-step guide. So that's my contact information. It's been a pleasure to be of service to you today. And so remember, pause, a very powerful skill. It can punctuate, it can illuminate, it can create suspense, helps you recover from those brain drains, helps you remove those ums and ahs. Can you use pause more effectively in your public speaking? This is Peter Dew, public speaking trainer and coach.